Hey guys, Prowl1701 here, and today we're going to be talking about top 10 classic Who villains that need to come back, that need to show up in the modern series. Now, two of the ones on this list have actually had appearances in the modern series, but I still think they deserve more due in the modern series. So, part one, we're going to talk about the bottom five, and in part two, we'll talk about the top five. Starting the list at number 10 is the Sontarans. Now, the Sontarans have been in the modern series, but really outside of their first story, the Sontaran Experiment two-parter, they really haven't been treated with the reference they deserve. They've been used more for comic relief with Strax, and that's really not what the Sontarans are about. The Sontarans were a major threat in Classic Who. They even invaded Gallifrey one time in one of the series finale. They were a really big deal and a major threat. They're also the main enemies of Sarah Jane's first adventure, the Time Warrior. They were also one of the main enemies in the Two Doctors. They've showed up several times. And they're really good in the Sontaran Experiment, or the Sontaran Stratagem. That was it, the Sontaran Stratagem two-parter in the modern series. And the Poison Sky, I believe, is part two. And they're really good in that story. They're actually really good there, and they're treated, I think, pretty proper there. But after that, maybe it's their design just looks more comical by today's standards, but it really hurts them because anyone who watches them in the modern series gets used to them to kind of being more silly and comic reliefy. So if they go back and then watch them later in Classic Who, they may find it a little hard to take them seriously, and that'll hurt that Classic Who episode because they're not going into it with the right frame of mind for the characters. So I'd really like to see the Sontarans brought back to being the deadly threat they used to be. I'd like to see them utilized properly in the modern series because we haven't seen that except for their first adventure in the modern series. Number 9 on the list is the Crotons from the story The Crotons with the Second Doctor. I think The Crotons is a very underrated story. I've mentioned that before on this channel. It is a Robert Holmes script, and Robert Holmes is amazing. I think the biggest letdown of the story of the Croton story was it was a little simplistic. It was a good script, but a little simplistic. But mainly it was the Croton's design. I actually really liked the spinning heads, the diamond heads. I thought that looked pretty cool, but the rest of the design was pretty crap for the Crotons. But I'd love to see what they could look like, you know, with modern technology, especially since they do form themselves. You know, they form themselves, you know, from those little vats, so they can reform in different shapes. I'm sure you could easily write in why they would look different in modern Who. It would make sense that they could look different. It wouldn't be a big stretch for why they have such a redesign. It's really written into the story of the Crotons that you get the impression they can look different because they can form and unform. So I'd love to see a modern take on the Crotons because I really think with today's special effects you can make them look really sharp, really a nice crystalline entity, you know, kind of like the Tholians. I love the way the Tholians look in the Star Trek Enterprise two-parter in Amira Darkly they're in. That was a really nice updated realization of the Tholians. So I would really like something like that for the Crotons. I think that'd be really neat. Number 8 on the list is the Wirren. I think that's how you pronounce it, the Wirren from the Ark in Space. I really like them. I love the Ark in Space. It's one of the Doctor Who stories I have earliest memories of. It was the very first one I ever bought on DVD. One of the reasons I just love Season 12 as much as I do, and I love Tom Baker as much as I do. But the villains in it are really neat, especially since they have those different stages. You have the larva stage and then the adult insect stage, and the fact that they, you know, they kind of reproduce by infecting host bodies, and then they learn the knowledge of the host is really neat. So they become smarter from the people they absorb and take over. Watching Noah turn into a Wirren is really neat because not only is he physically changing, but he's mentally changing as well. He gets confused at some points. It's like it's not just a physical transformation, it's a mental transformation. It kind of reminds me of the remake of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. You know, you're watching his character Seth Brundle slowly changing into this fly hybrid creature, and it's not just his body that's changing, but mentally it screws with him too. You know, mentally his mind deteriorates and becomes different over the course of it. So it's not just a physical transformation, but it's a mental transformation as well. And I really thought that was really fleshed out well in the Ark in Space, watching Noah's mental transformation, and toward the end how he struggles to hold on to some of his humanity. I just think that would be another nice villain with modern effects. Imagine if that came out in season 13 where somebody's slowly getting taken over by that. Because I think that's still pretty effective in the Ark in Space. When Noah pulls his hand out and it's the green bubble wrap, I think that was highly effective for the time. And I think that holds up actually pretty well today. It's a nice, good cliffhanger. Imagine that with modern effects, watching somebody slowly being consumed by that green slime, not just physically, but mentally taking them over. I would love to see that again. Number 7 is the Krynoids from the Seeds of Doom. Once again, we have something that infects a host body and slowly takes it over. And in its early stages, it still slowly resembles a humanoid figure, more like a caricature of a human almost. And that's pretty neat. I love that design. I know it's a redo of the Axons design, but I saw the Krynoids first, so I always think of that design as the Krynoids, not as the Axons. And I like it better with the Krynoids anyway. It just looks creepy with that green paint on it. There's just something unsettling about something that looks like a farce of a human being, like a statue, or which is why the Weeping Angels are unnerving, or a mannequin, which is why the Autons are unnerving. So once again here you have something that looks kind of human but certainly isn't human. It's a bit unnerving. Now it's fully adult form, looks kind of silly. That effect doesn't quite work. You could definitely modernize that and do it. But I'd love to see a couple more of those pods crash on Earth and to see the Krynoids come up as a threat again, because I really do enjoy the Seeds of Doom and would love to see the Krynoids return. And the last one we're going to talk about, number 6 on the list, is the Sea Devils. And I do mean the Sea Devils, not the Silurians. I would love to see the Sea Devils. I'd still want them to look very similar to their classic counterparts, because I love their design. I loved the Sea Devil story from Season 9. It's really good. Warriors of the Deep is kind of crap, but the Sea Devils is really good. I'd like to see them come back and to still be enemies. You don't have to try to make them a gray area or good. Just make them the villain of the story. I'd like to see that. I like the Sea Devils. It's such a good story, and I think at least some form of Silurians deserve a better than what they've got in the modern series. I really don't care for the Silurian episodes in the modern series. And so the Sea Devils, the sea version of the Silurians, I think they deserve a shot at the modern series to kind of redeem that. And that's all we're going to talk about in part 1. We will do part 2 hopefully tomorrow. Comment down below and let me know what you think. Would you like to see any of these characters come back? Or are you worried that if they did come back, the people running the show now would just screw them up and tarnish their legacy, and they can leave well enough alone for now? So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what you think of my list. I always enjoy interacting with you guys and finding out your opinions. So comment down below. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click that bell for notifications. I've started a Patreon channel. If you would like to contribute to that, you will find a link to that down below if you like. Most importantly though, stay safe out there, and thank you for watching.